In this video, we'll be going over the SNO story list widget, which is one of the most popular and versatile widget options you'll have on your site to display a category of stories. And specifically, I'll be kind of walking you through how you can add it to your site, as well as all of the different ways and options you have for configuring it to display your stories. So first, to access the SNO story list widget, as well as the rest of your site's widget, you'll want to come to your widget control panel. And I can get here by hovering over the SNO dashboard tab in the upper left-hand corner of my site and clicking on widget control panel. From there, I can see all of my different available widget areas over here to the right where I can add widgets, as well as all of my available types of widgets that I can add here on the list on the left. And from that list, I'm going to be working with the SNO story list widget here. Once selected, I can click and drag that SNO story list widget into a widget area of my choosing. And in this case, I'm going to start by dragging it into this home top full width area of my site. Once I drop that story list widget into an area, all of my editing options are going to appear here on my screen. And one thing to notice about the story list widget is that there's both a primary area and a secondary area. You can use one or the other, or you can use a combination of the two, and I'll walk you through kind of all of those different options. But to start, I am just going to use the primary area in my SNO story list widget. The first thing that I'm prompted to do here on the left is choose a category that I want to display in the widget. And so in this case, I'm going to choose my news category. You'll notice though, when I kind of select a category here, that the title of the widget is going to display that category name by default. But if you wanted to change that, for instance, if I was displaying my entertainment category and maybe I wanted the widget title to be A&E instead, you can go ahead and change that up here if you'd like. But again, I'm going to select my news category here. And then moving down that list on the left, I can choose how many stories I want to display from that category. So maybe I want to do 4 stories here. I can adjust the headline size. I have different options for showing different elements, such as a deck, a teaser, a byline, a date, and a category name, and I can toggle those on or off as I choose. And then I have some different alignment options as well, things like centering the headline, the byline, date, the teaser, and then centering the text vertically. So again, I can toggle those on or off here as I choose. Shifting over to the second column here, my primary area design, since I am setting this one up in that full width widget area at the top of my site, and I am displaying 4 stories, and I think it would look really nice to adjust this column here and actually spread those stories out into 4 separate columns. You'll notice when I switch to multiple columns that some of these options down below here automatically adjust for me. So for instance, if I was just keeping it as a single column, I can do things like choose the position of the photo or the media. Whereas if I am doing multiple columns, that photo or that media is going to automatically show above the headline of my story. Other things that I can select here, kind of continuing down the list, I can choose my media type. If I keep it set at photo, it is going to display the featured image from whatever stories are displayed. One really cool option is to switch this to video. And if you switch it to video, the story list widget will display any video or audio that is embedded using the video or embed code component of a story. And that video or audio will be playable directly from this widget. So it's a really great option for displaying videos or displaying audio or podcasts directly on your homepage if you do a lot of that kind of content. In this case, I am just going to leave mine at video here. I can also, if I keep it at video, choose my media dimensions. We would recommend keeping it at 3:2 horizontal ratio, but you can adjust that if you'd like. And I can change the text area background, which is going to default to a very subtle gray color. So I'm going to go ahead and make that white here to match the background of my site. And then I can change the text color as well. Lastly is this widget appearance column. And this is where I can select one of the 8 different widget styles that are determined in your site's design options. And I can apply one of those 8 styles to this widget. If you like, you can also activate a custom design for the widget as well, if you want to go beyond kind of that pre-designed style there. So now that we've set up this widget using just the primary area, I'm going to go ahead and save it here. I can see it is in this home top full width area. So if I refresh my home page, I should see my story list widget. And notice that it is displaying those 4 stories in 4 columns at the top of my site here. And it includes all of those design settings that I selected when I was setting up the widget. So let's go back and edit that widget. And this time I'm going to both move it into a more narrow sidebar type space, and I'm going to use a different configuration for it. So coming back here to my widget control panel, rather than the home top full width, I'm going to now move it into this home top left. And to move a widget, I can simply click and drag it to the new space. And then to edit that widget, I'm going to click on it. And all of those editing options for my SNO story list widget are going to reappear here. Since I'm now placing this in a more narrow sidebar area, this would be a great example of a time where I would use that secondary area. This is going to produce a much more condensed list of the stories in this widget. And so I am going to use just the secondary area this time, which means I'm going to come over to the primary area content and switch that to 0. So there are going to be no stories displayed in the primary area, and I'm going to activate the secondary area here. Now, once I do that, I can do things like choose how many stories I want displayed there. I'm going to choose 4. Secondary area location, not quite as important right now. We'll come back to that in a little bit here. I can choose the format that I want, whether it is thumbnail photos, text only, or bullet points. I can do things like center the headline area vertically, choose how tall I want my secondary photos or stories to be, adjust the headline size, change the photo alignment if I'm using photos, and then show the byline and or date if I want to there. So now that I've switched and edited this widget to just use the secondary area, I'm going to go ahead and save those changes. And if we go back and take another look at my homepage to see that updated look, I can see there's that same SNO story list widget, only this time just utilizing the secondary area. So as I mentioned earlier, you're going to see that those photos and stories are displaying much smaller. So let's go back again to that widget here. And we're going to edit it one more time, only this time we're going to use a combination of both the primary area and the secondary area. So again, to edit, I'm going to click on that widget there, and I will select 1 story for my primary area. And I'm going to keep 4 stories in my secondary area. However, because I am kind of keeping this in that narrow sidebar space here on my site, I am going to change that secondary area so that it displays below my primary area. So now if I save, and if we go take another look, here I'm going to see a combination of those 2 areas. So I have the primary area there, nice and large up at the top. And then I have my secondary area down below with the 4 stories. Now let's say I wanted to move this SNO story list widget into a wider area. Maybe I want to put it back in that home top full width. I'm going to go ahead and click and drag it there to move it. And because I am putting it in a wider spot, this might be an example of a time where I would want to click in to edit it. And I would use that beside secondary area location rather than showing those smaller stories below. Again, because it's going in a wider space, I would probably want to place that secondary area beside. And you'll notice when I select that, you can choose how wide you want your primary area to be. I'm going to leave that at 50%. Let's go ahead and save and take a look here. So now I can see that same story list widget here on my homepage. It is in this home top full width area. And same idea, I've got one story here in the primary area, nice and large off to the left. And then I've got 4 stories beside in the primary area. So last thing that I want to go over with the SNO story list widget here is that you can create a really nice professional looking widget just with these basic design options that you're offered here with the SNO story list. However, if you're looking for a little bit more customization, there is this blue box to show advanced design options. And if I click on that, as soon as I do, I'm going to see a ton of other choices kind of pop up down below here. Um, and this is going to give me options to do things like adjust certain text sizes for things like my teaser and my byline. I've got some options for spacing and padding here that I didn't previously have before. I can add in some dividing lines here. I can show a teaser in my secondary area. So just definitely more things that you can explore, again, with these advanced design options if you feel comfortable doing so. Some of the most popular advanced design options that we see with the SNO story list widget would be displaying a view all button or a view all link at the bottom of the widget. So I'm going to go ahead and select that here. And then adding dividing lines between the stories, both in the primary area and in the secondary area. So I'm going to go ahead and select this box to add dividing lines both in the primary and in the secondary area there. And just for fun, I am also going to change the photo dimensions in my secondary area. Rather than being square, I'm going to go ahead and change those to maybe circles. So now that I've made those couple changes, I'll come in here and save. And if we take another look at that widget, there I can see the couple advanced design options I selected. So the view all link there, or the view all button, the dividing lines between my stories, and now I can see that those secondary area photos are circular. So those are all of the different ways that you can utilize and set up that SNO story list widget on your site. Again, either using just the primary area, just the secondary area, or in most cases, you'll probably use a combination of the two. And again, this is one of the most popular and versatile widgets that you'll use probably repeatedly throughout your site to display your categories and your stories. So hopefully you feel a little more comfortable with the SNO story list widget. But as always, if you have any questions about widgets or anything else on your site, please feel free to reach out to SNO support.